Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. So in the past couple of years, you may have noticed your friends and family talking about wanting everybody to be equal and on an equal footing. Movements such as the Occupy Wall Street rallies and protests have all wanted us to be equal in society. Organizations and protests such as these have their roots in a philosophical theory known as socialism. It's basically where everybody in society is equal and there is no wealthy or ruling class. Taken even further back in its roots, this actually stems from an ideology known as Marxism. And that got my crew and I to thinking, what would happen to art and the artist if such a system became reality? So that's the journey we're going to take today. The question, does art have a place in Marxism? First, we need to understand what Marxism is and what the theory is behind it. Marxism is a theory defined by Karl Marx in the mid-19th century. Marx was actually borrowing ideas from the Renaissance and Enlightenment periods and were showing up again during the Romantic and Realist eras from about 1800 to 1850. This is while Marx was actually defining his ideas and theories. I do want to point out that while Marx was actually talking about economic structure, class systems, and literary works at the time, he didn't actually talk about art itself. This actually came from the Marxist aesthetics and Marxist aestheticism. They were actually borrowing their tenets and sensibilities from the Romantic and Realist eras that were occurring in the art movements at the time. So what are Marxist theories? The main one we know today is Marxism. Simply defined, Marxism is the theory about a power struggle that will ultimately lead to a classless and equal society. Karl Marx was not a thinker, he was a doer, and so he wrote the Communist Manifesto as an instruction manual for the direct rejection of capitalist Western principles that would lead to a pure socialist and equal society.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now that's the taste of a free market enterprise system. So Marxism as a system rejects fetishism and abstract value and chooses semiotics over allegories created by the bourgeoisie. Let me break this down for you. So fetishism is, guys, while this is a form of fetishism, it's not what we're talking about today. Thank you. So fetishism is an extravagant or irrational devotion. We see fetishes every day, whether it's cars, shoes, people, celebrities. It's a deep-seated emotional connection that causes us to constantly crave or desire objects or people. Semiotics. Basically, semiotics is the philosophical theory of signs and symbols. We see signs and symbols every day in our life, and although we may not realize it, they have meanings and connotations put onto them through society and our own personal perspective. While allegory, God, that's a long definition. It's the expression by means of fictional figures, actions of truth, and generalizations of human existence, or an instance of such expression. In these works of art, it's an expression given to the people through representation. In Bernini's David, we see David in his fight with Goliath. The purpose of its creation was actually to bring people back to the Catholic Church during the Counter-Reformation. While in Raphael's School of Athens, we're actually supposed to see the universal connections between man's connections with God and the elements. So let me break this down a little bit simpler for you. In Marxist society, that piece of art that you love so much, you can't own it. Why? Because in Marxist society, any and all art that's created needs to be for all of society to experience, understand, and enjoy. Oh. And it can't be about anything that has to do with human existence, history, or culture. Well, why is that? Well, because in Marxist thought, all of that existence, history, and culture was taught to us by the wealthy and ruling class. So it's a skewed view of our history. So once we all become equal, then we have to take that history, that culture, and that experience and throw it out and begin anew. But what's interesting is that Marxist seeks to liberate the artists so that the artists can create art about societal views and experience. But it can't have anything to do with human existence or history or culture. No economics or politics involved. So isn't that a bit of a catch-22? I mean, if you're supposed to be liberated and create whatever you want, but you can't have any of the politics or culture or history, how are you supposed to create anything? So my question to you is, what exactly is art, and does art really need those to be necessary? So what exactly is art? Well, art at its very simplest core definition is something that's created. Okay, but historically, art was created as a reflection to societal norms and cultural values that were reflected in independent and personal principles. And these views and reflections, this fetishism, the subjective desire, actually created these movements in art and philosophy. And without this art and philosophy, these movements would have never gained traction or popularity. Also with symbols, they would have never gained popularity or traction or become universal without an allegory to first inspire them. And as we all know, everyone loves a good story. So what it all boils down to is this. Do humans need to create? Yes, absolutely we do. It's inherent in our very core. From the dawn of time, we've been inspired to draw, carve, and show the world around us. So with everything we've learned in Marxism today, can we truly get that sense of art? Does art have a place in Marxism? Unfortunately, that's an answer that's very, very gray. Can we still see the world with a sense of past history, culture, existence, with all those Marxist restrictions? I think a better question that we need to ask, can Marxism allow for human creativity?
have it